Hey guys, I'm super happy today recording my second podcast episode. Today here in Rio with a very, very special person. And I'm super happy that you guys are going to be here with me. So today I'm going to talk to my friend and my teacher, Rob. My goodness. I was expecting so much this meeting. Eu não sei se eu começo a falar em português, porque a gente fica emocionado, né? A gente fica, meu Deus do céu, muito animado para poder falar as coisas. Mas estou feliz demais de ter a oportunidade de conhecer pessoalmente. Depois de 4 anos trabalhando juntos online, né?
Muito tempo.
Muito tempo. É uma sensação estranha você conhecer uma pessoa que você já conhece pessoalmente, né? Você nunca viu a pessoa pessoalmente, mas já conhece. Mas te agradecer, então, pela presença, Rob. Obrigada por topar atravessar o Rio de Janeiro durante o Carnaval, né? Perto do Carnaval, que é uma loucura, para vir me encontrar. E obrigada por esses 4 anos de parceria, né? Eu acho que esse podcast é uma celebração do nosso encontro.
Eu estou muito feliz de estar aqui, de encontrar finalmente.
Né? Finally. Exatamente.
A gente já se desencontrou, né? Algumas vezes no Rio.
É a terceira vez que eu tô no Rio e o Rob sempre fugiu de mim, né? 2 vezes ele falou, não quero ver a Dal, quer saber de uma coisa, ver ela online já tá bom demais, né?
Então, eu muito feliz de estar aqui hoje. E é isso que você falou, é muito estranho a gente se ver. A gente já se viu tanto.
Exato, exatamente.
Até estranho falar em português, né? Porque a gente só conversa em inglês.
A gente só conversa em inglês. E eu até falei, vamos fazer um pouquinho em inglês para as pessoas verem a diferença do seu sotaque, né?
Isso.
Porque você tem essa coisa com o inglês britânico, que você trabalhou muito para adquirir. Mas no português você tem um sotaque completamente diferente do que... Sei lá, eu acho que o inglês britânico... Qual você acha que seria o sotaque, esse equivalente no Brasil? Um sotaque mais polido, assim, educado? Nem sei se tem algum, né? Que a gente pode falar,
Eu acho que a gente
assim.
pensa muito naquele de jornalista,
Exatamente.
Aquele bem limpo.
É, não é nem um sotaque das regional, né? É uma coisa mais profissional mesmo, exatamente. E aí no Rio, em português você tem um sotaque super carioca, né? Do porta, esquece. In English you talk like a gentleman, right? Very good. Rob, so let's start talking about your story with English. How did you start studying it, and why did you decide to pursue this British accent so heavily as you did?
Yes, so I started learning English as a very, very young person. So when I was a little child, my parents put me in Catholic schools my whole life. They had a very strong English program.
Yeah, since the beginning, 2-3
Since
years
the
old.
beginning,
Okay.
I can't really pinpoint when I started to learn English.
Because everything was combined, right? Yeah, so cool.
But when I graduated, I realized that my accent was very mixed because of we're in Brazil, so we have a lot of influence by American English or from Brazilian English, the way we speak English in Brazil.
Exactly.
So I decided at some point that I wanted to unify my accent, to make it more uniform. And the one that felt more comfortable for me was the British one. Because I already said a few words with the British pronunciation. And also for Cariocas, I think the British is very good. It's a nice accent for us because of the R letter.
Yeah, you don't have this issue that we usually have when you come from for example, where I'm from, we say porta, so door is easy for me to say, right? But for you, because you say porta, it's a little bit more difficult, right?
Very different.
Exactly. But when you say when I graduated, it was high school?
Yes, high school, and then I went to do psychology. So I am a master in
also for the ones who don't know, Rob is also a master in psychology.
Yes, exactly. And there was a point where I started to using my English more professionally because I started working with translating articles. I worked as a translator for teachers that came from the US as well.
That in the university, when you were pursuing the psychology. Yeah.
And during my master's, I worked with an American teacher who came to... I did my master's in PUC-Rio. So in PUC-Rio, I worked as a translator as well. So it was it was that experience, and also starting to work with you, that made me realize, my accent is quite mixed, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to
uniform it. Exactly. So you studied in a British school when you were elementary, regular, and
it wasn't a British school, but it was a school that had a very strong British
influence approach
because it was a German school.
Okay, got it. So in Germany they have the European English that is more British.
So that was the standard, I believe. Also, of course, very influenced by Brazilian English.
Yeah, exactly. So the teachers used to have like an accent also, like a British, like mixed with the Brazilian accent, exactly. I guess. Yeah,
Precisely.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So I studied in 2 Catholic schools during my whole life.
Okay.
And then I continued in Catholic schools with PUC because it's also a Catholic university.
A very Catholic person. Yes. A very Catholic formation you had, right, over the years. So cool.
So it all influenced a lot of my English from the beginning. Yeah. But, as you said, there was a lot of hard work afterwards to turn it to be what it is now, right?
Exactly. And when exactly did you start like this work? Like when you were about to graduate high school, when you were in college?
A bit later, when I was in college.
Okay, after. Okay. Yeah.
Because that was really the moment where I had that realization, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a very interesting work, this work of accent acquisition or accent modification. I think it's something that a lot of our students, the more advanced students, sometimes want or I don't know how to get to that point. So I think it's a good exercise, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let's go deep into it. Like, how did you start? Like, you told me why you started, because you realized it was mixed. And how did you do it? Like, the methodology that you used, it was something that you created by yourself? Well, or you were like copying other people online, tutorials, YouTube videos, something like that?
I think we can say that it's a unique method because it's a constellation of methods, right? Amazing. But I didn't create them. I just borrowed a bunch of different ones.
You picked some of them and made like your own construction,
So the first one is the method that we use with our students, which is the comprehensive input and comprehensive output, the idea of consuming the most we can of the content that we are
listening a lot of input.
We have that a lot with all the students from the very beginning, but also with the study plan. That's our methodology, and that works clearly.
Yeah, exactly, it does.
So I consumed a lot of British English, British content. And then I started going more into the specifics, right? So working with phonetics, so the way we produce letters in our mouth, and what are the sounds, what are the difference between a stereotypical American accent and a stereotypical British accent? Because that's the thing, right? It doesn't exist one British accent or one American accent.
Exactly. It's like we say a Brazilian accent, Portuguese, like the Portuguese from Brazil accent, there isn't. Like there is many different ones.
Precisely.
Right?
So I had to okay, which one do I want to learn? So I decided to go for what we call received pronunciation or a modern received pronunciation because it's a British accent that's not regional. So it's not region specific. It's more related to the south of England, but not specific. So because of that, it's very common for international students or people who learn British English outside of England, outside of the UK, to have that accent. So it's a very neutral.
It's like British a journalism accent. Also. It's like a journalism
that was the
one.
Best comparison.
Exactly, because it's something that you train. Like to talk like a journalist, you kind of train a lot. So
eventually it becomes natural, right? Like I don't think about it anymore.
That's true.
But at the beginning is that very much the exercise of learning that behavior, or learning that accent, which is hard work.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And how did you practice? Like, because for example, I realized I was watching some videos of mine when I was like in the beginning of my journey as an entrepreneur in 2021, and I realized how much my voice changed, not only the accent, right? And I think it was kind of like an unconscious work because I was listening to a lot of like content when I was, especially the TED Talks that we use a lot. People usually project their voice there, so I think like without me realizing it, I was talking like them. But also when I started to realize that I wanted to change my accent, that I want to sound more, not more like American, but like with English that is not really like Brazilian characteristic, that you don't listen to it and you don't realize where you're from. I realized that I changed kind of my voice as well, and it wasn't something that I was planning to do. It was just like, practicing the English. I realized that my voice is different. Have you tried have you tried to do the same, like to project your voice somehow, or it's just like it happened naturally as it did with me?
I think I have two different voices.
Exactly.
Like in the setting or in a when you're teaching, we have that teacher persona, right?
Exactly.
It's much more eloquent. The way we're speaking now is much more eloquent. Every letter is well pronounced, and we are really projecting our voice.
But when intentionally, right? We are talking intentionally.
Exactly. It's not that we're thinking about what we're talking, but naturally we do that, right? Because we are being perceived.
Exactly.
But when we are with friends or we are like just chatting about, we have a different voice, right? And I think that comes naturally. I didn't intentionally do that, but what I did to practice and to develop certain sounds is one exercise I always recommend to our students, which is mirroring.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about it.
Mirroring is probably the most powerful exercise we can do, because it mimics how we learn languages naturally. Like, think about when we are babies, when we are children, we start learning Portuguese or we start learning any language by mimicking, by mirroring the way people speak. And that's what the exercise proposes, right? You pick a person and try to mimic the way they talk. It sounds quite weird in the beginning.
Yeah, it does.
It feels like we're copying the person, but then it really, really changes. You can really tell the difference between a student who does the mirroring and the student who doesn't. And so powerful, such a powerful tool. I think mirroring is the best one. One thing I always tell students too is to not worry about speaking too fast, because that happens a lot too, that like some students have the perception that they must speak fast to
speak
sound
well.
to sound fluent.
It doesn't.
But it's like no one is measuring the way you're speaking. That's not what we are looking for.
Exactly.
So be calm, try to do the mirroring exercise. I think it really, really changes.
Exactly, because talking fast or not, it comes with your personality, right? Like I talk fast in Portuguese, in English, in Spanish, in any language, you know. I talk super fast, but I know a lot of very fluent people that learn English as a second language that they don't, or even like native English speakers. Like sometimes we hear people on TV, you're like, they speak so fast. Sometimes they do speak fast, but because of their personality, not because they want to sound more fluent, right? And this is something also that sometimes people kind of like misperceive what is to be fluent, not like to talk super fast or to talk in one or two specific ways. It's like, how can you pronounce the words in a way that people can understand you and that you feel comfortable with as well, right?
Because fluency is not one single thing.
Exactly,
I think that's the biggest question, right? I think some students come to us with this, when will I be fluent? And it's like, there isn't an answer for that.
Very good question. When you have the answer, you tell me, because I don't know if I'm fluent either, right?
Everyone's going to have a different perception for that. But I think fluency, in my perception, is this confidence in the language. It's not about the accent. It's not about knowing every single word. Like, if I go to a supermarket now, maybe I won't know the name of everything that I need.
Exactly, yeah. But if you are able to explain, like the person from the supermarket, what you are looking for, that's it. You are having your goal, right, of like being fluent.
I heard this example a long time ago. Like, if someone studies Arabic in university and they're able to read a huge number of academic texts in Arabic, but they can't go to the Middle East and catch a bus, are they fluent?
I don't think so. Exactly, because this is one of the things, and I think that's why our methodology, our mentorship works so well, because we talk about like speaking English, using English, not studying English, because they are two different things, Very different thing. And I always say that in Brazil, people realize, like when you talk about the market of business, of English as like a business, English as a niche, people like realize that selling English, it's very profitable. But making people learn English is not that profitable, you know, because you have to really like pay attention to that person and follow them like in the way that we do, right? So I studied English for like 2 years, and I heard that a lot, and like it really hurts me to the core that a person says, I had studied English for like 2 years now, and I ask it like a question, okay, so if I talk to you in English right now, can you understand? And the person like freezes, like a very simple question, but like a question that I use different structures and this kind of things. So I think that's it. You have to like focus on learning how to speak English and not only studying English. Because if you just study, I can be just like the book's on the table the whole day. I'm studying English, you know. But what is the result of that, right?
So many students come to us with that background, right?
Exactly.
Someone who had like a very long experience with classic teaching of English, and the person can't introduce themselves. Like, the person can't understand a very basic conversation. So one thing that connects with that is the idea that learning English is not translating English.
Exactly.
That's another very important thing of like the way something is translated into Portuguese or into English is not necessarily how we say it or how we speak it. So to speak in English, you have to understand English, not translate it.
Exactly. And understand in English, right? That's where we always sometimes have like some issues with the students because they want to keep translating for like their whole journey. Like, no, somehow you have to let it go, right? Otherwise it's going to disturb you.
Yeah, especially with expressions and idioms. They always come and say, oh, how do I translate this into English? And it's like, you don't.
Yeah, there is no way, right?
This is how you say it in English. Exactly. You're not translating it.
Exactly.
We can find this similar meaning, a similar way to express that, but we're not going to translate it.
Exactly. Is it like an equivalent, right? There is an equivalency of that. It's like yesterday I went to play Altinha with Josie, right? And we call it Little Up, but just as a joke. Yeah, because there's no way of translating that. Like, it's a Brazilian game with like in a Brazilian way that there is no like competition abroad. It's something very Brazilian,
and
right?
some things are just not going to be translated.
Exactly.
Like we do that with English, like we bring English words to Portuguese.
Yeah, exactly.
But we also do that bringing Portuguese to English.
And there is no way, there is no problem in like trying to like explain what it is, but keeping the name in Portuguese,
like
right?
Pão de queijo. It's something that we can't translate.
Yeah, don't say cheese bread, please. The ones who are listening to it, don't say cheese bread. It's not the same.
Cheese bread is a completely different thing.
Totally different, yeah. They have cheese bread there, but it's not pão de queijo, right? So don't call it cheese bread. Come on.
Exactly. Açaí is another example. They call it acai. Right?
Yeah, they don't know how to pronounce it. Exactly. I saw a video of Bruno Marquezine saying it. Gringos are not, the name is not acai, it's açaí, okay?
Yes, because of the Sicilian, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But those are good examples of this. Like, not everything needs to be translated.
Exactly.
And I think that comes with the confidence that I mentioned before. Is this idea of using the language as a tool.
Exactly.
Not as a weight. Right? Not something that's going to be heavy on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for example, in this way you can say, I was playing Altinha, that is a Brazilian word for like a game that we use, like a soccer ball, and you have to do like some kicks, use your head. I know how to do this with my head yesterday. I'm very happy right now, very confident about it, So this is really cool. And one of the things that we always talk about is about the accent in Brazil and how, like, this is so interesting. I think you also have a background as a teacher. Right? You had a method a formation with that, right?
I do. I have a degree in education.
Yeah, when you were graduating in high school, I think before you graduated, right?
So this is one of the things that we can't translate.
Yeah.
So I did formação de professores, so normal.
Yeah. That would be like a technical.
A technical degree.
Yeah, it's a technical degree for teaching, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
So exactly, and I think probably you had some classes about this linguistic approach, right?
A lot of didactics.
Yeah, because when we always discuss that when the person from Brazil has a very strong accent that is like related to their identity. So when people are from Minas or from Rio Grande do Sul, like in many different states, not only from Rio as well, from the Northeast, it's very difficult for them sometimes to let go some of their expressions and like we have a student, with a student from Minas that he always wanted to bring some expressions to the English class, and that is not a problem, but sometimes there is no way of like having the same idea with that same words, you have to like adapt your language.
Yeah, it's such a local expression that we can't externalize it. And that's the thing with English and why our methodology works so well with the consumption of content and stuff like that, because English, any language really, but English is not just a language, it's also a culture.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very hard to learn any language without learning a bit of that culture as well.
Exactly.
And we see that a lot with our students trying to learn English and trying to bring Brazilian culture into English.
Yeah,
and it's like some things are going to work, but some just aren't going to work. There's no way of translating certain things.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, some dialects and some accents in Brazilian Portuguese are such a big part of our identity.
Exactly,
Like, I can't say words without a Carioca accent.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It sounds so unnatural.
Yeah, because you said, for example, you were speaking English and you said, Puki-Rio. Yeah, because usually people say Puki-Rio, right? But you don't say Rio.
I don't say Rio.
I say Rio. The name is Rio. Come on. Qual é, meu irmão? Qual é?
Only like if I'm not paying attention, I say Rio.
Yeah,
but
exactly,
if I am like, no, Rio.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a strong part of our identity.
Yeah.
And I really understand those students when they come with that.
Yeah.
Students from Minas have a very strong relationship with their accent.
The accent and also the expressions, right? Because sometimes they say some different things in a way that is just very like theirs. It's very part of who they are, right?
Yeah, it's not very... It isn't spoken that way anywhere else.
Exactly.
So it's so hard to adjust it. But it's such a beautiful part of language too, right?
It's amazing.
It's one of the things that I really, really love about language. How it doesn't connect only to our brains, but also to our heart.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The way we feel in the languages is different. And for me, that's my mark of fluency. That's how I see fluency in any language, is the ability of feeling in that language.
That's a great definition of it. Very interesting.
When you move past only the rational and you're able to empathize and feel...
Talk about emotions in a very free way. Exactly.
For me, that's the biggest mark of fluency. And
that's true.
It's a hard thing to do.
It's a hard thing to do, especially for the ones who like learned, because you learned English as a child, right? You knew how to like communicate when you were young, so you probably have like the both hemispheres like connected with the language, right? So you can talk about emotional things and rational things in English, and you don't have like this kind of division. For me, that I just learned English when I was an adult. I was 20, on my early 20s. It's difficult, right? Right now, I do it better, I think, because I had a relationship with a person that I only could speak English before. So I had to have like, discussions about the relationship in English and talk about how I was feeling. That's things that I had never had to do before. But even though living in that situation is kind of difficult, because you have to like connect like the rational part of you, that is the one who connects with the language, with the emotional part, that is how you're feeling. So yeah, it's a great exercise.
Yeah. Do you have a hard time sometimes, because I do, of speaking in English something that you only learned in Portuguese? Like you learned first in Portuguese.
For example,
and
I don't know.
Let's say psychology. Like let's say I studied half of this content in Portuguese, so now I have to speak it in English. It takes an adaptation, right? Or the opposite too, like something I learned first in English and now I have to explain in Portuguese. It's really hard.
It's really hard. I totally. And in this, for example, I had a lot of situations like that in Canada, because for example, I had to explain where I was from, what my dad was doing, because for example, my dad works in the farm, so he plants. Now I know that it's yuca or cassava. Right, but at that time I didn't know how to explain like how it is like plantação de mandioca, right, in English, how it was like yuca plantation, and like that they had to do flour, that and how yuca flour and this kind of stuff. So sometimes I was talking about the process, like how it is planted and how like we cultivate things, and that we raise cattle and do this kind of things. There were things from my childhood that I didn't talk about that in English with anyone before, because I was talking to my dad about it, for example, from the farm. So yeah, it's hard. You have really like to rethink before you talk.
Yes,
right?
you have to really restructure.
Yeah.
Like, this happens to me because I read a lot. Reading is like my hobby.
Yeah, and you read more in English or in Portuguese? Which one do you prefer?
No, there's more in English.
Yeah, because you like it?
Because I like my favorite genre of literature is Victorian literature.
Okay.
So it was mostly written in English.
Yeah, so
19th century English.
When you were reading, you hear yourself in English. You hear like the pronunciation. Yeah, yes. I do it as well. And it's a great exercise for pronunciation.
Reading is fantastic.
People have no idea how great your pronunciation can get when you start reading. Right?
Reading is probably the most powerful tool to learn vocabulary.
Yeah, that's it, for sure.
Because the words are repeated so often
that
you don't forget it.
That's why Robinson Crusoe works so well with our students, right? Because you see the word once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and so when you see, you just realize that the word, that's the meaning.
You stop translating.
Exactly, because you are thinking about the story, right?
Exactly. That's so the beauty of the method, right? Eventually, they just follow the story.
Yeah,
and they're like, yes, we got it. We got to that point.
So nice.
But yes, I read a lot in English, and when I have to explain to someone like, oh, what's the book about? And it's like, I don't know how to say this in Portuguese.
It's difficult. Sometimes, because I was learning about it the other day, because language is a code, right? So sometimes we find that some words in Portuguese, they are very complex. They are very more complex code than the one that we have in English. And it happens a lot because English, like the students, sometimes they don't believe us, but it's so easier than Portuguese. It's so easier. You guys have no idea when you go to the core of the grammar.
That part is very simple.
Very, very simple. And also the expressions sometimes. Like I was the other day translating the word overwhelming. Like imagine, how do you translate overwhelming? It's like alguma coisa que te sobrecarrega, algo que te deixa sobrecarregado. Look at how big it is. And you just say like that is overwhelming. It's one word in English, you know.
They're very good at concising.
Yeah, exactly. Just doing it in a very precise way.
And about the grammar is interesting because that's my area.
And you like it, right? You like to.
I love it. I always tell students that I see grammar as tools. Like, of course, there are some grammars you have to learn. But a lot of grammar, especially the more advanced ones, is like, hear what you can do. Right?
You don't have to.
It's like, do you want to speak this in a very direct, simple way? You can. Or do you want to sound more nuanced, to have a more complex speech? Here's the possibility.
And also one thing is like you can control how you say it, but you don't control how people talk to you. So sometimes, no, I want to talk just like that. That's it. I don't want to go very deep in grammar. Yeah, but someone else is going to use that. Yeah, they're going to talk to you, so you don't understand.
I always tell them that like the simple tenses cover 80% of the language. So it's like, okay, if you know the simple tenses, you're able to communicate. But that's not what people are going to use every day.
Exactly.
You need to learn the more advanced ones too, even if you don't want to use it.
Exactly.
But grammar is very powerful. One thing I tell students too is how grammar is a very good confidence booster. Because once you know grammar, you know why.
You know why you were talking like that, right?
And you know you're speaking right. You have the structure, you have the rule. So it's like the confidence level just goes way higher.
Exactly. And another thing that I love about our methods, like they learn how to say sentences first because they have the conversation classes with us, like with our methodology, and later they understand why they are using that. So they have seen it like in practice, because sometimes another thing about studying English and really learning English, right? Sometimes you just study like the grammar rules. I have a lot of students who comes to me, I know that I have to use S or ES or IAS, whatever, but they don't know how to do it in a sentence, right?
That's why grammar is not the focus of our method.
Exactly.
Like most students have it every other week or something like that, because really the method is about speaking. It's about learning how to speak the language. But we can't escape grammar. But that's exactly why. It's because if you only focus on grammar, you're not really speaking the language. You're just learning how to construct the sentences.
Exactly. It's like when you are putting together a wall, like if you only use the bricks, it's not gonna it's gonna fall somewhere. So we need both things, I think.
I'd say the grammar is the skeleton of the language, but you need everything else to put.
Exactly. Otherwise you're just gonna have it and you don't have anything else. And it happens a lot, unfortunately, in other methods. That's great. Another question I have for you, Rob, and I think you can switch to Portuguese, because I want the students to see like the mix between you speaking in English and Portuguese, like the difference that it is.
Lord.
Do you believe that you have a persona, like when you are speaking English, that you are a different person? Você é uma pessoa diferente em português do que você é em inglês, você acha?
I do. Do you want me to say this in English?
Yeah, in Portuguese you can change now. Pode mudar agora.
Sim, minha voz muda, né?
Muito diferente. Bastante. Ai, eu adoro esse pai carioca, gente. Sensacional. Me fala um bairro aí
Um bairro
de Londres, assim, uma região. Você fala bastante Cox, I think.
Agora
não consegue lembrar em português.
Manchester, Liverpool.
From Manchester to
London.
From Manchester to when you come to Rio, would be which is your neighborhood here? Yes.
Here in Zona Norte do Rio.
Zona Norte. From Manchester to Zona Norte.
Yes.
É muito diferente, assim, diferente demais.
É uma mudança drástica, assim, é aquela coisa, né, de, tipo, eu já não penso mais sobre essa mudança, mas quando a gente tá aprendendo, é tipo, não posso fazer esse som. Quando eu tô falando nessa outra língua, é tipo muito difícil.
Mas parece muito louco, porque parece que eu tava assistindo o podcast que eu gravei em Fortaleza, e aí eu fazia muito isso, falava um pouquinho em português, um pouco em inglês, e eu percebia, cara, parece que mudou, parece que é uma outra pessoa, completamente diferente.
Você continua falando rápido.
Sim, em todas as línguas possíveis.
Mas muda totalmente.
Minha, exatamente.
Tem coisas que são de persona engraçada, né? Porque eu sinto que eu sou muito mais confiante em inglês.
Sério? Olha que coisa engraçada.
Eu consigo fazer mais piadas, consigo ser mais sarcástico às vezes. Enquanto em português eu sou um pouco mais
contido. Mas talvez porque você fale muito mais inglês do que português hoje, né?
Hoje em dia, no dia a dia, eu falo muito mais inglês.
Eu também. Eu sinto que não importa onde eu esteja, assim, eu falo muito mais inglês no meu dia.
O dia todo dando aula, não dá.
Ou a gente tá dando aula, ou a gente tá estudando o conteúdo, ou a gente tá assistindo o conteúdo, ou a gente tá fazendo reuniões com, por exemplo, agora com os nossos professores, né? Então é o tempo todo a gente...
Os únicos momentos que a gente fala português com a nossa família, amigos próximos.
Exatamente. Então a gente acaba falando muito mais, e eu passo muito mais tempo na frente do computador do que fora, hoje acho que você também, né?
Total.
Então a gente acaba tendo uma personalidade mesmo. Só que assim, hoje em dia eu sinto que eu tenho uma outra personalidade. Antigamente era uma coisa meio que de trabalho só, tipo, a Dalvana do trabalho fala inglês. Mas hoje você também tem uma relação, você conversa com pessoas também sobre outras coisas, ou seja, trabalho em inglês, né? Hoje eu já sinto que não, tipo, eu tenho uma personalidade em inglês que é uma personalidade completa, que tem trabalho, que consegue se relacionar com as pessoas, fazer amizades, falar sobre coisas engraçadas, enfim, fazer piadas e
tem coisas que você sente mais facilidade, assim, de falar em inglês do que em português?
Ah, sim, eu acho que tem algumas palavras. Às vezes, quando eu tô conversando com pessoas que falam inglês também, eu tenho uma amiga de Montreal, a Suzy é brasileira e ela mora lá. E aí, geralmente, quando eu tô falando com amigos que eu sei que também são fluentes em inglês, é uma mistura, porque a gente fica falando a frase inteira e aí no meio da frase você mete uma palavra em inglês ali, né? Tipo assim, por exemplo, overwhelming. Very busy. É tipo, eu tô muito busy, amiga, essa semana. E fica uma coxa de retalhos, assim, porque tem algumas coisas que no português são mais difíceis de falar do que em inglês, assim. Requer que você pense melhor como organizar aquilo e você só fala uma coisa em português, em inglês fica muito mais fácil.
E como a gente tá falando inglês meio que todos os dias, tem coisas que que eu só me lembro de como falar aquela palavra em inglês.
Exatamente.
E eu fico, como é que eu falo isso em português?
Exato. Acontece muito. Outro dia eu fui pedir alguma coisa no restaurante, que era uma carne, e aí o cara perguntou qual é o ponto da carne. E aí eu não sabia como falar, eu não lembrava como falar ao ponto, não lembrava. Daí eu só vinha assim na minha cabeça, medium rare. Daí aí eu falei assim, como que é no meio? Daí o cara, tipo, o quê? Deu, tem passado, bem passado, e o meio dele, ao ponto, deu, Isso aí, o cara saiu, eu fiquei tipo, sou muito retardada, cara, não sei falar o ponto em português. Mas a gente esquece, né? Porque você fica muito com aquela coisa, assim.
Às vezes acontece comigo, tipo, se eu peço alguma coisa pra entregar, essa ideia de entregar, às vezes me faz, eu penso en route. Ou, eu sei, tipo, eu comprei uma coisa e já tá
en route. Já tá, tipo... E aí fica aquele loading, assim, e a pessoa fica tipo, o quê? O que aconteceu? É que nem call. Eu não consigo falar videochamada. Tipo, às vezes eu tô conversando com alguém, eu preciso fazer uma call. E às vezes eu esqueço que tem pessoas que, tipo, não sabem o que é call e tá tudo bem, tá tudo certo. A gente fala português no Brasil. E aí, não, porque eu tinha uma call, 2 calls, e a pessoa, tipo, você teve o quê? Deu, videochamada, desculpa, é uma chamada de vídeo. Porque às vezes você fica muito... A gente fica ouvindo aquela palavra, falando aquela coisa várias e várias vezes, assim, né?
É difícil também quando a gente conhece alguém. E a gente fala
numa língua, exato. Não consegue
transicionar depois é muito difícil. Eu tô pensando sobre isso com a Anica, que a gente só fala inglês com ela, mas daqui a pouco ela vai estar falando português.
Exatamente,
Vai ser muito difícil.
É muito difícil. A gente não consegue trocar, que nem esse meu relacionamento que eu tinha no Canadá. Eu morava em Quebec, que era uma província que só falava francês. Só que eu e meu ex-namorado, a gente se conheceu falando inglês. E aí depois eu aprendi francês também, só que a gente não conseguia conversar em francês. A gente tava no meio de um monte de pessoas falando em francês, eu e ele, cada um falando com as pessoas. A gente olhava um pro outro, saía em inglês, assim, automaticamente. A mesma coisa na Espanha agora, que eu moro em Valência, e a gente tem um grupo de vôlei que a gente só conversa em inglês, porque daí tem um polonês, tem um italiano, tem uma coreana, tem um brasileiro, tem um francês, então a gente só fala inglês. E aí, só que vários deles também falam espanhol, porque a gente mora na Espanha. E aí a gente foi pra um bar um outro dia com outras pessoas que... Elas devem falar inglês também, mas assim, elas estavam falando mais espanhol. E aí a gente conversava com essa galera e eu olhava pro menino que eu jogava vôlei junto, que é polonês, e eu não conseguia falar em espanhol com ele, só em inglês, assim.
É muito difícil.
Né, transformar
porque a gente liga a imagem da pessoa.
Aquela língua, né?
Eu acho muito estranho falar português com você.
Não é? É estranho, é diferente, mas eu sinto que você é uma outra pessoa, completamente diferente, assim. Eu gosto muito do seu sotaque carioca, por isso que eu falei, assim, vamos falar um pouco pra eu ouvir você falando, porque é diferente,
eu acho que é um dos sotaques que as pessoas amam ou odeiam. Né?
Exatamente.
Não tem um meio
I can't say I love it. I can't say particularly I don't know. Eu não sei se é porque eu acho o sotaque britânico, pra mim, ele soa sou um pouco caricato, não no sentido ruim, mas assim, parece que tem toda uma pompa, assim.
Ele é meio...
É uma cerimônia, eu acho que é isso. Eu sinto o sotaque britânico, pra mim, é uma coisa meio chique, assim. Se eu fosse relacionar com um lugar, parece aqueles restaurantes que você tem vários talheres, assim, e aí tem todo o negócio. E aí eu sou, tipo assim, do povão, vamos pro McDonald's.
Eu acho que especificamente esse, que foi o que eu trabalhei, eu aprendi, que é o Received Pronunciation. Ele é um sotaque que ele não é um sotaque totalmente natural, né? Ele foi criado ali no final do século XIX, começo do século XX, para ter essa característica, né? De ser mais elegante, mais bem cortado, polido.
Assim.
Então ele dá isso, é dele, né, esse sotaque. Então ele
esse
dá
é o
essa
objetivo,
sensação. Sempre foi.
exatamente. Inclusive, você me contou uma vez, quando a gente fez uma aula sobre accents, né, que a gente estava falando sobre a história dos sotaques, que ele, inclusive, foi usado meio que para uma separação social, né? Tipo, quem fala dessa forma é mais bem visto, tem mais posses do que a pessoa que... Então, vamos criar uma língua, um código, para nos diferenciar dos demais. Foi mais ou menos essa história, né?
A gente tem que lembrar, né, que Reino Unido sempre foi uma divisão de classes sociais muito forte. Sim, ainda tem uma família real.
Exato, exatamente.
Então, sim, esse sotaque ele sempre foi criado, foi formado ali com essa intenção, né? Com essa intenção de ser da alta roda, né? Da high society, coisas assim. E aí, para diferenciar essa classe dos outros sotaques regionais que haviam na Inglaterra. Por isso que ele acabou virando o sotaque da BBC, ele é o sotaque da família real, tem variações desse sotaque, né? Mas ele é chamado de Oxford English.
Então, da Universidade de Oxford.
Exatamente.
Então, quem fala assim foi para uma universidade...
Isso.
Né,
ele é muito ligado à educação, à alta educação, ligado a uma alta cultura e coisas assim. O que nem sempre é verdade, mas ele passa essa
ideia.
Essa ideia. Então, por isso essa sensação, né? De que ele é um pouco pomposo.
Exato. Não, mas parece que você tem que colocar uma roupa chique pra falar esse sotaque. Fala, meu Deus do céu, será
que eu tenho essa sensação às vezes, de que eu tô tocando as coisas com uma luva de pelica, assim, né?
Exato. Na hora que você tá falando, dá essa impressão, né? E essa relação com a monarquia, Rob, eu não sei se você sabe tipo, de onde veio. Tipo, a galera da família real começou a falar dessa forma, e aí as pessoas que queriam ser mais, né, começaram a usar esse mesmo sotaque, ou foi ao contrário? Estabelecemos que esse é o sotaque da alta sociedade, e agora a família real também adquiriu esse sotaque.
Eu não vou dar certeza da monarquia, mas sim, ele primeiramente foi a classe alta.
Entendi. Então vamos estabelecer um código, uma língua, e aí a família real, claro, entrou nesse
balaio.
Entendi.
E aí, aos poucos, a população começou a imitar esse sotaque. Então você tem variações desse sotaque, received pronunciation, de diferentes maneiras. Por exemplo, em Londres, ali no sul da Inglaterra, a gente vai ter o que a gente chama de modern RP, ou Received Pronunciation moderno.
Eles chamam de RP também.
RP,
tem acronym, RP.
Yes.
Que legal. I speak RP.
RP. Ou também se chama SSB, que é Standard Southern British English.
Ok, great. Standard Southern. Então do sul mesmo.
Do sul da Inglaterra. E você vai ver que tem várias características do RP, só que outras características que vêm de sotaques que eram regionais ali de Londres.
Tudo é uma mistura.
Por exemplo, as características de tirar a letra T de palavras. Sabe como às vezes...
Como que você fala better?
Eu falo better.
Better, você fala o better.
Eu falo better.
Mas esse é o RP.
Esse é o RP. A maneira, por exemplo...
Fala como as pessoas... como os que não falam o T falam.
Não, pode ser os dois, né? Pode ser o better, mas é muito comum falar better.
B-A, gente. Tá vendo por que eu não gosto do sotaque britânico? Pra mim é better. Você pega os dois T's e vira um A. O Rob fala better.
So much better.
Better. Ele é bear. Você engole a palavra inteira some, gente.
Às vezes escapa
bear.
Desse glottal T, né, que a gente chama. Mas sim, que vem ali do Cockney, né, que é aquele sotaque...
É esse nome que eu tava tentando lembrar, o Cockney.
Aquele sotaque ali tradicional da classe trabalhadora de Londres.
Entendi.
E aí ele desenvolveu o que a gente chama de estuary English, que é inglês estuário. Enfim, vai ter várias classificações.
Entendi. Mas essa característica de tirar o T, ela é dessa classe operária da Inglaterra?
Da Inglaterra inteira.
Inglaterra inteira,
você vai ter vários sotaques regionais. O sul, muito forte, mas também no norte, em Liverpool, Manchester, que vão tirar o T também.
Entendi.
Outra característica comum é tirar a letra H de palavras. Então, ao invés de falar, por exemplo... Hospital. Isso.
Tira o H, som dos dois R's que a gente ensina, tipo hospital,
isso, exatamente. E aí, às vezes, cria umas sensações estranhas na frase.
Exato, porque se você, por exemplo, quer... e aí, por exemplo, red, seria red e add. Head pra cabeça, você falaria add. Sem o H.
Rad.
Rad. Ah, entendi. Isso eu falar só cabeça, ad. E aí, enfim.
Isso.
Aí, nossa, dá
essas
um
coisas
bug
acontecem
na cabeça,
nesses sotaques
né?
regionais, assim. Principalmente quando você está falando rápido.
Exato. É por isso que as pessoas têm a sensação, já escutei vários alunos que foram pra Irlanda e pra Escócia, que falam, cara, parece que eles não falam inglês lá. Mas não é que eles não estão falando inglês, estão falando inglês com um sotaque muito característico e diferente de tudo que você já ouviu.
O sotaque irlandês, por exemplo, eles têm uma questão muito forte com a letra R, né? De um R muito forte nas palavras. E a Escócia também vai ter várias características ali diferentes.
Exato.
E aquilo, né? De novo, a gente comentou isso antes. Não existe só um sotaque irlandês, ou só um sotaque...
Tem várias, Depende de onde você está indo na Irlanda, né? Exato.
Mas o sotaque de Glasgow, né? Que o pessoal chama de Glaswegian. Dizem que é um dos mais difíceis. E realmente, você pega aquele sotaque ali, você não está acostumado a ouvir...
Você não entende.
Você vai penar um pouquinho.
Mas é que nem uma pessoa que está aprendendo português agora e vai conversar com um casal gaúcho mais velho lá do interior de uma fazenda que fala mas gazaios, guri. Não vou nem imitar aqui para ninguém falar que não tá igual. Mas fala assim de uma maneira muito diferente, de uma maneira muito específica. E assim, não é que não é português. Claro que é português. Só que é um português muito específico de uma região, né? Que tem um sotaque que você não está acostumado. Por isso que é a importância de ouvir sotaques diferentes,
exatamente,
né, Rob?
Eu sempre falo isso para os alunos, de tipo... Não tem uma maneira exatamente certa de pronunciar essas palavras.
Exato. Existe a maneira errada.
Existe a maneira errada, exatamente.
Mas a certa tem várias formas de você falar,
já aconteceu
né?
muito, né? De, por exemplo, porque os meus A's são né? Então, eu falo grass, por exemplo, para grama.
Grass. É um A mais alto, né? Grass.
Mais longo.
Mais longo, grass.
E aí, muitos alunos às vezes perguntam, né? Qual é o certo de falar? É fast ou é fast? É tipo...
Depende,
os
exatamente.
Dois estão certos.
É que nem after e after, né? Porque eu aprendi... Não é que eu aprendi o inglês canadense, mas eu morei muito tempo no Canadá. Sim. Então eu ouvia pessoas que falavam inglês canadense. E tem essa diferença, assim, do americano pro canadense tem uma slightly difference, não é uma coisa muito grande. Mas, por exemplo, quando a gente fala... geralmente eles falam então tem after e tem after. Sim. E eu percebi que eu falo sempre after, sempre vou pro por causa da influência do Canadá. Então, às vezes a gente tá ouvindo o áudio do Robinson Crusoe, daí o cara tá lendo, ele fala after. Aí depois eu vou ler after. Aí o aluno fala, mas é after ou after? Eu falo qualquer um, eu falo pra ele, é leite ou leite, né? Yes. Tanto faz, depende de como você quer falar,
water
né?
é water.
Exactly. E tem umas que chegam pra mim lá, water, a teacher fala que andou demais com o Rob, tá falando demais com o teacher Rob.
Adoro que eles começam
Ai, eu adoro inglês.
Influenciar eles.
Eu adoro inglês britânico. I was drinking water. Aí falou, lá vem os filhos do Rob pra mim.
Muito legal. Sempre porque o sotaque pega. Essa é uma das coisas, né? É meio contagioso, assim.
Sim, total.
Você ouve muito alguém falando, você começa a
falar igual aquela
sem perceber,
pessoa.
Não é me irritando. Então é sempre legal pra mim. Tipo, quando eu tô ouvindo um aluno.
Você fica orgulhoso.
Quando eu tô falando, eles falam castle.
Meu Deus. Fui eu que ensinei, sensacional. E eu fico muito surpresa, por exemplo, agora tá saindo The Devil Wears Prada 2, né? O Diabo Veste Prada 2. E a Emily Blunt, ela é britânica. E o sotaque dela no filme é 100% americano. E quando eu ouvi uma entrevista dela com elas fizeram agora algumas entrevistas de lançamento com a Anne Hathaway, né? As duas conversam sobre o filme. E aí eu ouvindo ela com inglês britânico, eu fiquei chocada. Eu falei, como que ela conseguiu fazer uma personagem tão bem construída, com um sotaque tão natural, assim, né?
Eu tenho a impressão de que atores britânicos têm mais facilidade
de fazer o britânico
e fazer o americano.
E de fazer o americano do que vice-versa.
Do que vice-versa. Eu tenho essa impressão, assim. Muitos atores que eu vejo falando inglês americano e depois eu descubro que é britânico,
eu fico chocada. Como que pode? Não parece.
Pensado.
Exatamente.
Mas os americanos, às vezes, dão
umas escorregadas ali. Exactly. Very good. Não, muito legal. E aí, o seu processo, Rob, você acha que demorou? Claro que é a vida inteira que a gente trabalha no nosso sotaque, né? Mas assim, até você começar o teu processo e você falar, agora eu tenho um sotaque que é bem característico britânico, assim.
Que eu tô satisfeito, escutam. Né?
Isso, exato. Quanto tempo você acha que demorou, assim?
Difícil
falar, né?
Um ano, talvez.
Massa, mas é um tempo relativamente curto, né? Claro que com uma construção diária, né?
Isso, eu praticava todos os dias.
É porque a gente fala, né? Eu falo muito disso, a intensidade, ela burla o tempo. Então, não existe isso de você, mas eu só vou conseguir com tantos anos. Não, depende de quanto você vai. Eu quero correr uma maratona, por exemplo. Quanto tempo você quer treinar? Você quer treinar todo dia, durante 2 horas? Talvez você consiga correr uma maratona em 6 meses, em 7, 8.
Eu joguei pra um ano, mas... Porque é o processo todo,
Exato,
né? Eu diria que, tipo, com uns 6 meses, 5 meses
Exato.
desse trabalho intenso, eu já tava me sentindo mais seguro.
Exatamente. Então, assim, às vezes não é que você vai precisar de tanto tempo, é o quanto que você tá disposto a colocar intensidade todos os dias. E como que o teu todo dia, ele é essencial, né? O todo dia. E eu falo assim, não é todo o dia, é todo dia. Então, um pouquinho todos os dias. Every day, every single day. Às vezes a pessoa pensa, eu não tenho tempo. Mas, cara, 10, 15 minutos que você para ouvir um conteúdo em inglês todo dia, depois de um mês, né? Acumula essas horas aí, né? De 5, 10, 15, 20 minutos. Durante um mês inteiro, você vai ter consumido horas de conteúdo em inglês e aquilo vai ajudar muito na sua construção, né?
É por causa do próprio funcionamento do cérebro mesmo,
Exato,
né? A gente sabe
exatamente.
como que a aprendizagem funciona. Ela funciona através dessas conexões sinápticas que a gente vai formando ali no cérebro. E essas conexões, elas só se mantêm se o nosso cérebro entende que aquilo é algo útil. Conforme a gente não vai utilizando aquilo, ele vai se desfazendo. Por que ele vai manter uma coisa que a gente não usa?
Exatamente.
Então,
exatamente.
a gente tem que convencer o nosso cérebro de que aquilo ali que a gente está aprendendo é útil.
É importante. Só tem esse convencimento conforme...
Usando
e não é
todos
palavra, e não é palavra. Não é você ficar falando pro seu cérebro, inglês é importante. Não, você tem que mostrar pra ele.
Não é olhar pro espelho e falar, é importante, não, né?
O seu cérebro, ele não aprende com palavras, ele aprende com ações. Você tem que mostrar pra ele vendo inglês todos os dias. Né?
Tipo, todos os dias você vê um vídeo, você lê um texto, o cérebro vai chegar à conclusão, eu não posso esquecer disso.
Porque amanhã eu vou ter que ver de novo.
Eu vou ter que ver de novo isso.
Exatamente.
E aí, aos poucos, você vai guardando cada vez mais informação.
Exato,
então, por isso que o método do todo dia é o
que
melhor
dá, o que dá mais certo. E o nosso study plan também é muito baseado nisso, né? E o Rob, inclusive, é responsável pelo study plan desde os primórdios do inglês e muito mais, lá em 2021, né? Todos os dias criando conteúdo, né, Rob? Eu acho que para você também é um ótimo exercício, né? A seleção desses materiais, toda semana pensar em algo diferente. Na verdade, você não faz assim, né, Rob? Você pensa antes, né, sobre várias semanas e vai mandando isso todos os dias,
Eu acabo preparando algumas semanas previamente, assim. Mas é um exercício interessante, né? Porque a gente trabalha com apresentações e coisas assim. Então, eu acabo casando o tema da apresentação com os conteúdos para ficar tudo bem coeso, com o Conversation Club também.
Exato.
Então, é um processo bem enriquecedor, assim. Eu vejo coisas que eu não veria, né?
Exato, sensacional.
Se eu não estivesse fazendo isso. Então, é sempre legal, né? Principalmente para os alunos mais avançados, a gente vê muita questão que eu trago para eles de inglês real, assim. Então, eu trago notícias de jornal.
Exato.
Eu trago vídeos que não são feitos para falantes de português. Falantes de inglês.
Exato.
E isso muda total a interação que eles vão ter com aquele vídeo, né?
É um conteúdo nativo, né? Então, só para quem tá ouvindo de fora, a gente tem 2 produtos hoje, que é o Study Plan e o Conversation Club, né? O Study Plan são aulas toda segunda-feira, 1h30 de duração. E nessa aula a gente trabalha um tema de gramática, mas também trabalha... Na verdade, a gente tem um tema para toda semana, né, Rob?
Yes.
Temos um tema para semana. E aí temos uma aula no Study Plan na segunda-feira sobre esse tema, que é alguns tópicos de gramática, e uma aula para isso no Conversation Club na quinta-feira, com uma TED Talk, né? Com um vídeo.
Always a TED Talk.
Exactly. E aí todos os dias, fora, né, essa aula que a gente tem na segunda-feira e na quinta-feira, nós temos um conteúdo sobre aquele tema. Inclusive, uma sugestão que a nossa teacher Bruna trouxe pra gente, teacher Bruna, que entrou recente agora na nossa escola, é falar sobre o que aconteceu agora com o Bad Bunny, né? Toda essa revolução que ele tá fazendo, que eu tô achando, assim, sensacional, né? O cara que veio de Porto Rico e ele foi uma pessoa que eu acho que finalmente conseguiu quebrar essa bolha do Brasil, assim. Antes eu acho que a Shakira tinha conseguido só quebrar a bolha.
A gente não consome muita coisa em espanhol no Brasil.
Exato, e ele conseguiu fazer isso. Então, por exemplo, se a gente estivesse falando sobre o Bad Bunny, a gente poderia falar sobre essa ascensão desse conteúdo mais hispânico nos Estados Unidos, bem nesse momento agora que a gente está tendo toda essa questão, né, da imigração lá e tal. Então, a gente teria uma semana só sobre isso, todos os dias um conteúdo, um dia um podcast, um dia uma entrevista com o Bad Bunny, outro dia um vídeo dele apresentando no Super Bowl, outro dia um artigo sobre isso e tal. Então, de segunda a sexta a gente tem esses conteúdos e na segunda-feira a gente teria uma aula sobre isso e na quinta-feira uma conversação também sobre isso, com as TED Talks, né? Inclusive, acho que é outra coisa que a gente pode falar. Que você já conhecia TED Talks antes, e o Rob já gostava antes de trabalhar com a gente?
Eu conhecia, mas eu não consumia tanto assim, não. Eu comecei a interagir mais com esse conteúdo por causa do nosso trabalho, né? Mas justamente isso. O interessante de TED Talks é justamente você consumir aquela abordagem mais... É muito mais estruturada na maneira como eles vão falar sobre aqueles temas. Tem muitos temas, né? Muitas opções de TED Talk, então é sempre útil.
Exatamente.
Tem uma possibilidade, né, para o nosso trabalho. E como a gente trabalha muito com uma certa especialização para os alunos, dependendo do que o aluno faz, né? Agora, esqueci como se fala isso em português, né? Personalização.
Personalização. Eu falei especialização, foi isso que ele tá falando sobre o curso que a pessoa vai fazer depois da faculdade, a residência médica dos alunos, né? Não, everything is very personalized, very tailored, right?
Very tailored.
Yeah.
Como a gente trabalha com essa perspectiva, é interessante TED Talks porque a gente acaba achando ali alguma coisa que case com o gosto do aluno.
Exato,
exatamente. Porque a gente tem muitos alunos que são médicos, né? E às vezes você tem alunos que são médicos que querem continuar vendo coisas de medicina.
Exato.
E alunos que, quando saem do hospital, não querem ver
quero ver,
nada,
pelo amor de Deus. Eu quero falar sobre qualquer outra coisa. Quero lembrar da minha viagem pra Suíça. Mas não quero falar de hospital, né? E a gente segue muito isso, né? A gente fala muito, né, que one size fits one, né? Então, tipo, cada pessoa é única, né? Cada aluno ali vai definir qual vai ser o tema da aula dele. E isso faz com que os alunos fiquem muito mais engajados, né, Rob? Acho que no Conversation Club você percebe muito isso, né? Quando a gente chega pra falar de um assunto que a gente gosta, a gente fala muito mais. Isso em qualquer língua, né? Mas quando a gente tem essa possibilidade de escolher o tema que a gente vai ter na nossa aula de inglês, isso faz com que a gente se esforce ainda mais para falar sobre aquele assunto, né?
É algo que a gente gosta, né, de falar. Então isso acaba ajudando muito a sair daquela tensão inicial, né? De vou ter que falar inglês agora. Exato. Não, você tá falando de uma coisa que você já gosta de falar. Então isso já dá aquela sensação prazerosa para a língua, né?
There is one student of us, Bruno. I love talking to him about jiu-jitsu because he's like a black belt, I think, right now. Yes. And he was trying to convince me to start practicing jiu-jitsu. So we picked like an article about it, and he read the article like super fast, and he was super excited. Like the article was talking about the benefits, about like how it can help you not only with your body but also with your mind, and how you can develop other like different skills when you learn how to fight jiu-jitsu. And he was like reading and agreeing with everything. Yeah, that's it. Exactly this. And when like he finished reading, he was like, teacher, by the way, you should start jiu-jitsu. You know why? And he started like convincing me in English. I was like, okay, tell me more about it. So I saw that if we were talking about anything else, he wouldn't have this kind of engagement in that class, you know, because when you are trying, like when you try to convince someone that British English like super good, you have a lot of content, a lot of arguments to bring in. So it's really, really cool, I think.
All of this baggage, right?
Exactly. It's cool. It's nice. And there's another thing that we were talking. I have Thais. I think you don't teach her because she has mostly classes with me and with Annika, I think. And she's from Minas, but she lives in New York. So she wanted like to really like improve her English to sound more like not like a native, but to have like a spotless English. You know, like that her accent is not like very.
Which can disappear.
Exactly. Like you do with your journalist accent in British English. And we started like becoming friends during the classes, and it happens a lot and everything. And I point out it to her when she's talking. When we are talking about the TED Talk, she has like a perfect accent. Like she just like, there is no perfect accent, like let me just correct myself. But like she really pursues, she's really pronouncing the words the way that she wanted to. And she has like this spotless English. But when we start talking about something emotional, about her family, because right now, for example, she's in Brazil. And so she was in Uberlândia with her family and everything. And she starts to bring the Mineiro accent to English. It's very like, because you know like how sweet their voice sounds sometimes. And then the mom, like this, you know, like this kind of nasal sound. And it's so interesting at the same time. Like it's weird and interesting because it's the same language, but depends on the topic you're talking to, your brain starts to make this connection. So when I'm talking about my family, I am like sweeter in my voice, so I sound differently. I cannot be that rational, that like practical or analytical or logical or anything. So it's really, really interesting. Like
it reminds me of one of our students is pregnant, right? And she figured out that she's pregnant. And when she told the teacher she was pregnant, she couldn't speak in English.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So she had to tell it in Portuguese because it was so connected to her emotions in a way that she couldn't say it.
Yeah, when I greeted you like today, I was like here during the podcast, and I was like, I'm so happy in English, but I felt like I couldn't really express myself how happy I was in English, you know. And I think it's because you're Brazilian, because like I have a lot of friends that are like from the US that I talk to them in English, and I feel that I'm like expressing myself, but it depends on the person, a lot like you, because you are Brazilian. I was like, no, I need to talk in my own language, you know. It's very funny how it is, super cool.
And I think that's very important, right? So, and I was having a class today about this idea of how sometimes when we think, for example, it's very common for people to say that English speakers are colder, right, in emotion.
Yeah.
And I think partially that's true. Like culturally, Brazilians are a bit warmer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I think also a bit of that is our inability to perceive how they express emotions, which is different the way that we do it in Portuguese.
Yeah, you were talking about how we usually like judge people from other countries as cold.
Yes.
But it's not that they are cold, it's just that they show their emotions in a different way, right? Mm-hmm.
Both culturally and also in the language itself.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
not to go too deep into this, but like the present perfect situation and how the present perfect can be used to express importance, how you think that something is relevant without having to say it, without having to explain it. And if you don't know that structure, if you don't know that nuance,
you can't really pick it, right? Can you give an example where the present perfect is used with this go?
Yes. So for example, there's a difference if I ask you, did you eat today? And if I ask, have you eaten today?
Have you eaten today? Okay, got it.
If I say, have you eaten today, I am letting you know, without having to say it, that I care if you ate or not. Like, I am asking because I am concerned if you ate or not.
Okay.
While if I ask, did you eat today, is a bit more
just
curiosity.
I just want to know. Like, I don't care if you do or if you did or not.
It's not necessarily like a cold thing, but it's like I am not showing my emotion.
Exactly. Yeah, if you put like in a real situation, for example, we are working together in an office, right? And you are like having a meeting or talking to someone, you're just like, it's today the weather is good or something.
Did you eat today?
Did you eat today? Yeah, it's just like part of like a small talk. But we are very close friends, and like you just arrived from home at work, and I'm like, have you eaten today? Because you seem like you haven't eaten anything, or like you are taking your medicine and you need to take your medicine while you are eating or later after you had your meal. So you are really concerned, right?
And if you ask me, have you eaten today? In my mind, I would think, let's go eat. Like you are also inviting me to go eat.
Exactly. You know? If you haven't, you have the opportunity to do it now. Exactly.
While did you eat is more like a curiosity.
Exactly.
Again, not cold, but as you said, in this context of like casual conversation. Did you eat today? Yeah.
Exactly. But that thing about how they express their emotions and how sometimes we don't realize it, it's something that we could stay like the whole day here talking about it. And I have a friend in Montreal. He works at Meta now, and he pursued his PhD and his master's abroad, and he was talking about it because he was born in Brazil, but he went to live in the US very young, so like 2-3 years old. So he was like raised in English at school, but at home he was speaking Portuguese. So he has kind of a mixed personality, because he's like half American, half Brazilian, but his whole family is from Brazil. But he didn't have a Brazilian culture because he was born there, like he was raised there.
The identity crisis.
Exactly, but he could understand like that people sometimes they're not rude. They're just like saying things in a different way than us, because we take a long time to go into the point, like to get into the point. If there is one thing that we Brazilians are not, it is straightforward. We're not with anything.
And we'll never say no.
Exactly. This is another thing very, very cool to say. Brazilians don't say no, right, Rob? Let's make you can say no, but how? You don't say no. Let's just like do a role play here. Rob, vamos pro bloquinho de carnaval comigo? Tô aqui no Rio, vim pra cá.
Vamos ver, vamos marcar. Vamos ver um dia.
Mas aqui é segunda-feira, aqui na sua cidade.
Então tem que ver. Mas vamos, eu te ligo e a gente vê.
Você me fala? Então tá. Então beleza. Ele não vai no bloquinho de carnaval. Ele odeia bloquinho de carnaval. Now you are a British person, right? And you are a British person, but being yourself. With your core, with the Roberto core, right? So I'm going to a bloquinho, like it's kind of a party on the streets that we have here in Brazil. Would you like to join me?
I'm not a big fan.
Okay. Yes. So you can't come, yeah?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, but you enjoy yourself. I hope you have fun.
Okay, cool. That's great. This is it.
So it's not rude. It's not rude at all.
But you said no. I'm not going. Exactly. Yes. So in Brazil, we have this kind of thing. Like we never say no. And when we say yes, it can also means no. Yeah. Sometimes we say, yeah, definitely. But you are not. But you are not going. You're like, yeah, let's run some day together. Yeah, definitely. No, I would love to. I just have to check my agenda. You know that you are not going. Yes. But you never say no.
I think we are very afraid of hurting each other's feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a good thing.
I think it can be. It can be. I think it can be because people get very used to not hearing the truth. Yes. I think this is something, when you live abroad, we start to think about that. Like, because I just coming back to that story about that friend that I have. And so he pursued his PhD in Canada, I think. And he has Brazilian friends who were born in Brazil, who don't have like this background of being in America and being in the USA, because Bad Bunny told us everyone here is in America, but being in the US, and they don't have like this background about people being very straightforward and something. So there was a situation. He was telling me that he had this friend from Brazil, and he was presenting a part of like the article that he was doing to a professor who was American, and he finished the presentation. The professor said, "I think you don't know what you're talking about. You have to go back to the page 43 and study everything again." And the student who was from Brazil, who was like devastated, he was like, "What is going on?" And he came back like outrageous, like, "What is going on? This guy just has said that to me, and what do you think he means with that?" And my friend, who had all this background of Brazil and US, said, "I think he meant exactly what he said. He says that you don't know what you're talking about, but not in a bad way. Like, you don't know the topic. You have to understand it better, and you have to go back there and study. That's it." And he was like hurt, but this is it. Like in Brazil, I don't know how it is in the academic world. You can talk to me. You can talk about that to me, because I know that in the academic, sometimes you guys are very like, the professors are also straightforward. They're not like very afraid of hurting students' feelings. Sometimes they're very harsh. But I think even in Brazil, even in the academic world, like they are not that harsh. I think no one would say that. They would say, "Yeah, I think you have to study a little bit more, but I got your point. Just go back to these pages and do it better. We can discuss it later," something like this, right? Yeah,
because a teacher like that will easily get the fame of being rude, being a rude teacher.
Exactly.
A very like
a person who is not humane. Is a carrasco.
How is a carrasco in English?
I don't know. A harsh person. I think I have no idea. Like someone who's kind of punisher, a villain. I think someone like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But so in Brazil it wouldn't happen like that. And that's very interesting. I think the solution for that, for Brazilians, would be, when we're interacting with foreigners, is to react to the words, not to your feelings about the tone of the person.
Exactly. But you have to say what you want to say, what you really want. You have to say it, because otherwise people will not understand it. Because we Brazilians, we kind of read between the lines. We read the emotion of and that's so hard for a person who was not born here. Like so hard, very emotional language. But also, like, for example, we read the emotions and we get what is the answer from the emotion. So if you, for example, I invited you to a blocking, I know you don't like blocking, I know you're not going, and you didn't said, yeah, sure. It was like, yeah, no, definitely. I will call you. And you say, I will call you. I was like, no, not going to call me. And that's okay. I got it. Exactly. But we didn't like said that directly to each other. But for example, another very funny situation that happened with me. I have a friend, Tyler. I think you had we had some interactions with her, maybe a special class.
We did a few meetings
a
long time ago.
I miss you. You have to come back to record the podcast with us as well. Because I used to have like a podcast with her, but just online. She has a baby now, so she has been busy. But anyway, I invited her to go to LA to meet me, like we did here, like because we had been friends for like a long time online. And I was going to LA to celebrate my birthday, and she lives in Atlanta in the US. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be in US. She can go to the US. She's in the US. She can go to the same city that I was. And I invited her before I bought my tickets, because at that time I was like living in Canada, so I depended like on my ex-partner to see like when he was available. So I knew about the date, but not exactly the day that I was going to take the flight. And I invited her before. I invited her, I don't know, 1 month before. And I said, yeah, I'm going to LA for my birthday. And she it's so cool. I said, you could come. Let's meet her. Let's meet her. And she had this reaction. Oh, yeah, I'm going to look that up. What I understood, she's not coming. Of course not. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna check my schedule. Yeah, sure. That's it. She said that. I was like, she's not coming. And I just relaxed. 1 week before, she's like, hey, Dow, I just booked my flights. And I was like, oh my goodness, which day did you book your flights? I have to book mine. And it had to match right now. And I got desperate because I didn't expect her to come, because she didn't have like the emotion of like excitement. And even if she had, because in Brazil sometimes that's it.
Even if
people are super excited. Oh, I'm coming. I'm definitely coming. People don't go. at the end, and that's hard. Like being a person who had lived abroad right now, like 3 years in Canada, that it doesn't happen in Canada. People say what they want to say. Like I had seen that like multiple times. A person next to me, like the person is talking on the phone, and they say, no, I don't want to go. Okay, thank you, bye bye. And I was like,
yeah, that for me.
What is going on? Yeah, no, my best friend just invited me to his birthday, and I was like, and you said that, and yeah, but why? Because I don't want to go. But how can you tell your best friend you don't want to go? Because I don't want to go. That's it,
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's very hard for us, right? So, but being a person like that had like experienced this culture for so long, right now I don't understand when people say yes when they mean no,
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't want to go, just tell me. You can say like, hey, now I think I can't go, but people don't say no. They say they are going, but they don't show up.
I'm terrible for that.
That's my call, guys. Let's say the truth, It's difficult.
I'm trying my
us.
best now to say no when I don't want to do things.
But when we are talking to Brazil, I think everyone gets the code, right?
Yeah, we don't have.
Yeah, you don't have
we
to.
We code switch a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try my best now to, in a gentle way, because of course we're Brazilians. We know.
Yeah, we're never gonna say, eu não quero ir na sua festa. Obrigada pelo convite. Tenha bom dia. Não vai existir isso.
We try to give an excuse. At least we try to give an excuse.
Exactly.
Because if we just say, oh no, I don't want to go. It's like, oh wow, this person hates me.
Você acredita que eu liguei pra ele, chamei ele pra minha festa e ele falou que ele não quer ir? Eu não acredito que ele falou isso.
This person hates me completely.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's very difficult for Brazilians to understand that.
Yeah.
Because it's such a part of our culture.
Yeah. And I think you don't have to change it.
Like, that's why people like us.
Yeah, because we are nice.
Because we are nice to our detriment.
Exactly.
But yeah, a lot of foreign people love Brazilians.
Yeah. I think most of them, they love Brazil. They love the culture,
maybe not Portuguese
the
people,
food,
almost everyone else.
Anyway, but what I was going to say, when we are interacting with foreigners, I think it's important to like let them know what we really mean, because sometimes it's something that compromises the communication, right? Because we say something and they don't really get that, right? It's crazy, but it's nice. It's one of the things that I think I don't know if I had ever talked to you about that, because we talk a lot about culture during our meetings. We used to have more meetings, right? Right now, I don't have the time, unfortunately, to do it. So, but I used to have a professor at college that used to say that culture is the most important trait in a human being. That is even more important than your instinct for surviving. That people prefer to die than to give up a part of their culture. Depends on how strong it is. And when you think about that, you're like, oh no, but this is something too harsh. But if you think about like a lot of wars, they happened because of culture. Like a person felt like invaded in their culture, not only territorially, but like my culture is not being respected, my religion is not being respected, so I'm gonna die and kill because of that, right? And sometimes I think when we are interacting with foreigners, we forget about that, and this is something so important, because as you said, language is not about only like the code that we are using to communicate, it's about the culture, right?
Yes, it's entirely connected to the culture.
Exactly.
And we don't have to go into the politics of it all now. But for example, Europe is going through that a lot nowadays with immigration of different people from different places, and that's a big discussion that they are having now. And because of that, because of culture, right? Like how cultures mesh is very important, like how they get along, and sometimes they don't get along.
Yeah, exactly.
And language is a big part of that.
Yeah, also. And it is one of like the assets that I think we can acquire when we can develop when you go like to any kind of international environment or international interaction, knowing that culture for that person is very important.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we kind of dismiss it. Yeah. For example, I had a hard time when I was in Spain. Right now, I went to Spain for the first time in 2024, and I was walking like on the Barceloneta beach, and I saw naked men, like naked people midday, right? And it wasn't like a place like a nudism beach. It was like an open beach in the middle of the beach, right? And I was like having a really hard time to understand that, and I was like, my goodness, because I was already like used to topless girls, like without using the part of the superior part of their bikinis and everything, the top part. But men without any kind of clothes, I was like shocked. And I was talking to a friend from Spain, from Catalonia, also from Barcelona, and she was saying, "Dao, it's just a body.
Yes,
it's just a body.
What I was going to say.
At the end of the day, it's just a body. Like, and if you think about that in Europe, like if you think about the pieces from Michelangelo or that all that paintings that all of us when we were kids we were pointing, there is like a boobs or something here. It's because they were showing the human body. That is something raw. That is something like natural that shouldn't be so sexualized as we do. But for our culture, it's something. Very my difficult. Goodness, totally out of what we are used to. You go to the beach and you see someone without clothes,
We're
right?
so weird about nakedness.
Yeah, exactly. But it's our culture as well. So for us, it's very disrespectful if a woman goes to the beach without the top of their bikinis, and it's like unimaginable to see a man naked on the beach as well, next to two children, because that's what we think. Unthinkable. But in Spain, something normal. And when we just like look at other person's culture as something not normal for us, maybe, but as something like that it's important to them. You know, maybe for you it's not normal, but I think look at that culture with a curiosity look, not a judgmental look.
I think acceptance is the biggest word, because people confuse that word. People tend to think that acceptance is
like I'm gonna take it to myself,
or
no, you don't
agreement.
Have to. Yeah, exactly.
The only way you can respect someone's culture, someone's religion, someone's experience in life is through acceptance.
Exactly.
You must accept people how they are. Of course, there are some limitations to that, but accept people how they are is the only way of respecting them. Exactly. You don't have to agree with them.
Exactly.
You know?
And understand that people are different, places are different, and what they do can be wrong for you, but for them is right, and that's it. For example, this in Brazil is a crime, but for them it's something normal, part of the culture, right? For us in Brazil, we also like it's illegal in Brazil, but a lot of people drink and drive. Like it's a crime, but it's not something like so wow. If you take like one can of beer and you go to drive, everyone had seen someone doing it. But in other countries, that's something like you can go to jail for good. You know, so it's something unacceptable.
This whole thing with alcohol too. Like for example, in the United States, you have to be 21 to drink.
Exactly.
And here's like 18, 16.
On the same. Also, on the other hand, you have like 16 teenagers driving in the U.S. In Brazil, you have to be 18. Exactly. So it depends. So I think that the thing is looking at the other person's culture with not a judgmental eye. Like, okay, maybe this I wouldn't do it myself, but I understand that people are different. You know.
Yeah. Again, there was a limit.
Yeah. Exactly.
There was a line in the sand.
Exactly.
Where the line is exactly. I'm not the one to say, like, I'm not going to be the one to establish, this is too much. Yeah. But yes, it's that thing of like, it's the only way of accepting.
Exactly. And sometimes we are talking about that and you say, no, but this is something that I'm never going to experience. I'm learning languages but when you are going to interact with a person, maybe the person is going to tell you a story or to talk about something that's completely normal for them in their family. And for you, it's going to be completely shocking. And you have to know how to react to that in a way that you don't offend the other person, you know, because sometimes your like simple reaction is going to cause like some kind of embarrassment or like kind of you
won't be able to connect.
Exactly.
If all the time you're trying to impose your culture onto the other person, you won't be able to connect. Then what's the point?
Exactly.
Because that's what we are doing with language.
Exactly. And sometimes you know how to speak English perfectly or in a very good way, but you don't have like this read the room, you know, like you don't have this ability of reading the room and understand what you have to, like how you can react to that or not.
And if you can't like feel the temperature like that, no one's going to want to talk to you.
Exactly.
Then what's the point? Why did you learn English?
Exactly. And you can ruin this connection. I experienced two situations like that. Once I was in Colombia with some friends from Brazil. Actually, we were three. It was me and a couple from Mato Grosso do Sul, and we were like in an inn that there was two more couples from Rio, and we were the only Brazilians in the inn, and we had other tourists there, other people who were there from Colombia, because I was in San Andres. There is like an island that belongs to Colombia, but is not in the Colombian territory. It's like our Fernando de Noronha, right? You have to travel a lot to go there. So it's a touristic spot, even from the Colombian ones. And it was New Year's Eve. We were supposed like to spend the New Year's Eve together. We did. We had like a dinner at the 31st together. It was very nice. We had like the barbecue from them that we had. What is the name of the thing that we got confused? Chorizo, that is Portuguese, is linguiça em espanhol, right? Linguiça em espanhol é chouriço. Só que chouriço para nós em português é uma outra coisa. É uma linguiça feita de sangue, right? So I remember that they were asking us, do you guys want chouriço? And we were like, no, you don't. And it was linguiça. It was something like sausage, right? For us. So yeah, but we had this dinner, and in the other day, in the morning, we would have breakfast together. And there were like Brazilians and Colombian people at the same table, and we were talking about the traditions that we have in our countries about New Year's Eve. And we were talking that in Brazil we were white, people usually go to the beach to like jump waves, that we have like fruits, a lot of fruits on the table, that we do this kind of thing. And the Colombian people were saying that they have kind of a doll, like a big dummy that they do every year, and they put like a picture of a face of someone in that dummy and then destroy it with something very different, and they destroy
for
it
New Year's.
For New Year's, in the last day of the year. And we were like, exactly as you react now, you were like, but why and how, and it's something like, and they said, yeah, if the person, for example, during that year, if that person was not good, so for example, you can be a politician, you can be a soccer player, you can be a singer, you can be a TV host, it can be someone that was not like approved throughout the year, you know.
I was thinking about here a long time ago, but people don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
They had the Judas tradition. Have you heard of that?
I had heard about it, but it sounds something very old. I think it's something related to that. I don't know if it is, but
probably. Maybe, but we don't do it on the New Year.
Maybe the idea is kind of similar, but it's on New Year's Eve. And we were like, okay, we didn't understand. And so a friend of us, actually he was with us, like, because we were like there were 4 people from Rio. There were like us, me, my friend and her husband. And this husband, he said, okay, like a person like Pablo Escobar, for example, and we were in Colombia. And all the Brazilians laughed a lot. The Colombian guys, silent, like dead silence. And we realized, we were like, hey,
they're not laughing.
we said something wrong, so everyone got quiet, and we just like heard the the knives and the forks on the table. We're like, yeah, maybe you said something wrong, and the breakfast was over. Everyone like, okay, that's it. I was like, my goodness, that was so weird. Did you guys realize? Yeah, we realized. Okay, so I made a great friend there. She's a lawyer, and she's from Colombia, and we had the other opportunity on the beach walking, just me and her. And so I was like, I'm going to ask. So I asked her, say, hey, May, do you I don't know if you know, but in Brazil we have like this actor Wagner Moura, that he played Pablo in a TV series, and it's very famous in Brazil. It's very like popular in Brazil. Do you know if people here watch it? Like, I wanted to know what was their approach on that. And she's like, look, we don't like to talk about Pablo Escobar here. We don't like to talk about this topic. It's kind of a taboo for the country. I was like shocked, and I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, for 2 reasons. The first is like the country's super small, and everything is very recent.
Yes, so that's true. It's not ancient history.
Exactly. It's super recent. So the chance of you making a joke or bringing that topic up, and the father of that person that you are talking to was involved or was killed or was like persecuted because of that, or the grandfather, anyone from that family, is very big. The chance that someone that you know was involved. So it's something that caused a lot of pain, the first. And the second reason was that Colombia is a very rich country. They have a lot of things. They have rich culturally, and they have a lot of great things to offer, like great beaches, and the coffee culture as well. People are super nice. A lot of incredible things to talk about, but everyone just relates it to narcos.
It's a stereotype.
Yeah. So you think about Colombia, the first thing that comes to your mind usually is like this kind of things. So it was something that we had no idea about. In Brazil, he is just a character. actor. It's not something that's part of our culture. It's like, it's nice. It's a guy that Pablo Escobar, that Wagner Moura played, and there are a lot of memes about it. But it's something that is part of someone else's culture that you have to respect, right?
I think that's a very good lesson in context, right?
Exactly.
And is a thing of like, if it's not your culture, and
don't talk about it.
Don't joke about it.
Yeah, don't joke.
If
exactly.
you can, like, if you are immersed in the culture and you know the ins and outs of the culture, then okay, you can make some jokes.
Yeah.
But if you don't know it, it's not your culture.
It's something that's gonna hurt,
Yeah, you don't know. It's such a dark topic, like that one, right?
Exactly.
Don't joke around. It's like because sometimes we have classes with international teachers, right? International people.
Yeah.
And one of them was from Ukraine. Remember that one?
I remember. And I told everyone, don't talk about war.
Like, don't bring it up.
Exactly.
Like, it's not our place.
Yeah, exactly. It's not our place, and you don't know what this person is going through or what is his approach on that. Like, and of course, there is like the issue of the war, but Ukraine has so much more to offer.
Exactly.
You have so much more to learn about them.
Focus on the good things. Like, unless she brings it up,
exactly.
don't say anything.
Exactly.
It's not.
That is a very good lesson, I think.
Yeah, she's not there to talk about that.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's great. So this was one of the situations I had. The other one actually was related to Ukraine as well. A student of us, he was like he started having classes with me because he wanted to pursue a job abroad. He's like a developer, and he was like, I want my English to be professional so I can apply for interviews for jobs abroad. And so he went through all his process. Right now he's working for an American company, but there was a time that he was applying for a Ukraine company during this period of war, and he was invited to the interview. And when he got there, at the beginning of the interview, I felt so sorry for him because, like, you're gonna see, they started like introducing themselves and everything, and say, Roberto, right? Let's imagine it's you. Okay, Roberto. So we are here like to interview you because we need more people in our team because some of our employees, they went to war, so they went to serve the army or something. They went to serve the country. They went to serve the army. They use one expression like that, and my student said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And they're like, why you're sorry? Don't have to be sorry. We don't need your pity. Our country is strong, and we are proud of them that they are there to defend us. And he was like, oh my goodness, I just said like one word and that's it. I ruined the interview. But that's it also, because for us, like sending someone to war is something sad.
Sad, incredibly sad.
Yeah, I think he said that's sad, or I'm sorry to hear that because that's sad or something like that, but for them it's a reason of proud. They have to be proud of that person because that person is being strong and like courageous enough to go there and defend their country, and they're proud of it. So depends on the topic. Don't even say anything. You just say, okay, got it.
Yeah, my go-to when someone says something and I don't know how to react, I go say, I see.
Amazing, that's it. It doesn't say anything, but you just keep going. I see.
It's not a value of judgment. I'm not giving my opinion.
Yeah, I'm totally neutral. I see.
I see.
That's amazing. That's great. It's really, really great. Exactly. Yeah. No, but this is true. And one of the things you said, and when I was like looking back at the situation in Colombia, I thought about that in Brazil. We don't really have a topic like that. That is kind of
we don't.
That is
corruption.
Like, yeah, but this is not something.
We joke around.
Exactly. I think we joke around everything. Nothing's a taboo in Brazil.
Yes.
Like we don't talk. Sometimes we don't talk about it because people can get heated. This is because it can turn into an argument, but not because it's a sensible topic, I think.
Yes, maybe religion. Maybe. Depending on how we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I think nobody judges religion in Brazil. Like, we don't say, this is wrong or this is right. We just say, like, I believe in this and you believe in that and everything.
Especially in a public setting. We don't have so many taboos in Brazil.
Yeah.
Especially because we have a very good... I don't know if it's good. That's a value of judgment again. We have a very strong joking culture.
Yeah, I think this is
We don't
good.
take anything that seriously.
That seriously. I think that's it, Yeah, for example, when you have a tragedy in Brazil, we respect that.
We do.
But we don't say that, like, we don't talk about it. Like,
it doesn't become a taboo.
Exactly.
I was thinking about the landslides that happened in Brazil.
And in Mariana.
Yeah,
in
the terrible situations.
Yeah.
But it's not taboo for
it's not
us
taboo.
to talk
We
about
talk about that.
Yeah.
We talk like seriously, like how sad it was, how many people died, or for example, what we have like in Rio Grande do Sul 2 years ago as well. I think it shows a lot of our generosity, because Brazil can be like we are, right?
People are very nice in Brazil.
Yeah, we're very nice, and
in general.
And we can be very organized when we want to help people. We're just like, okay, everyone's gonna give that and everything, and we really like move ourselves to help. But we don't have any topic that like, you don't talk about it.
We don't have Voldemort. It's like
the
one that shall not be
that shall not be spoken. Yeah, exactly. I think right now politics, unfortunately, people, we don't bring that up,
but
because
not even like don't talk about that. It's more like let's not
talk about it. Better let's not go there, because you never know how far we can go about this.
And you would never know. I don't have the time. But let's not ruin a beautiful day.
Beautiful friendship that we have, talking about different opinions. But you don't have it like, for example, like in Colombia, something that you don't talk about, because in Germany they have like
a very big one.
Yeah, another thing that I learned the other day with a friend of mine who works as a federal police agent in Brazil, and he was in Bratislava, like having a presentation there, talking about, I forgot the name of the specific section of the police that they do it, but they rescue like corpses when there is like a big tragedy, So for example, people who work in the identifying these corpses in situations like the World Trade Center, or like when the airplane crashes, there is a specific section inside of the police that they do it, and he is being like trained to be part of it, and he was in a congress about that in Bratislava in Slovakia. And there were people from all around the world there. And he was saying that in Germany, they started recently using like fingerprints, because before, one of the things that they used to like to show that you were Jewish or not, it was using fingerprints. So it was something that it was very unrespectful, disrespectful to ask someone to give their fingerprints, because it reminded them of the history
of that period. Yeah, because Germany, because of that situation, they became very careful of not allowing that to happen again.
Exactly.
So a lot of things became very taboo.
Exactly.
Let's not do that, right?
Exactly.
Which we don't really have in Brazil.
Yeah, and I think this is good.
It's good.
That's why we are so happy. And that's why we are so happy, because I think we look at our pains, at our the things that are not good in a different way, in a light way. We don't define ourselves by that.
I think part of that is religion. Like we, as a people, Brazilians are very religious. So we find a lot of solace and a lot of comfort in religion, so that helps. But part of it is also just the general culture. We have this feeling of nothing is that serious.
Exactly.
Right? It's like,
I think so.
We don't really have that intensity about things, which probably is part privilege, maybe, because we... As a country, we are not so involved.
Yeah, we don't have that dark history.
We have like some very terrible situations, but they are so long ago. That's what, for us living today, it feels like it's a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Dictatorship is probably the most
recent. Yeah, exactly.
But like, think about slavery, for example. It's a terrible, terrible thing that happened. And there's still a lot of consequences of that nowadays.
Exactly.
But again, it's a topic that we talk about.
And we talk about it, and we try like to be very aware of what was it, and what are the consequences, and how we can fix it over time.
And I think in general, people agree that it was a terrible thing, and two, we need to. It's not over completely. Like, we need to fix what happened. Exactly. And so I guess that helps with some unity, right?
Exactly. We discuss our topics in Brazil. I think this is the thing. Yeah. And about being religious, I don't know, where do you stand? Like, do you believe in something? Do you believe in God?
I do. I'm not
a religious person, like to go to church, but you have a faith in.
Not right now. I'm not like a member of a church, right?
Yeah.
But I do. I think culturally Christian, as most Brazilian, because it's such a strong,
and it's way more than just like the religious itself. Is a lot about who we are and where we are from and who we are, like as individuals, like
how we see the world.
Yeah, because I saw that I lived in Quebec, where they don't have like this sense of real religious long ago. Like people my age, they are mostly atheists. They don't believe in God. And when I was there, I was like, even the most atheist Brazilian, it would never be like that atheist. Because, for example, even if the person doesn't believe in God, they don't talk about it in a way that, I don't know, people from Canada.
Way.
Yeah, because they will remember of their grandmothers or their grandfather or their mother, you know. So I think it's the religious thing about Brazilians is more than just believing in God, in Jesus, and going to a church. It's about our society as well, because we are all organized in a way that we respect a lot religion, and even if you are not a person who practices it, you have kind of that in the back of your head all the time, remember it and trying to apply, influencing it. Exactly. Yeah.
I think as I said, we really help each other.
Yeah,
I think that fraternity comes from a religious background.
Exactly.
For better or for worse, right? Not the fraternity, but there are aspects of our culture, for better or for worse, that come from that religious background, and it's something that some different countries don't have or have differently. Like, for example, countries that are culturally Muslim, they have a different way of seeing the world. Countries that are Jewish, well, there's only one, I think, but Israel in this case, they have a different perception of the world, and that's going to keep going. Like in that case, an atheist country is going to have a completely different way of seeing the world. And that's part of the things we have to balance when talking with different people. Exactly.
Because sometimes, like as I told you, living in a country that people mostly don't believe in God, sometimes I was on tables and I was like, my goodness, I feel like I am an alien here, because the person sees the world in a totally different way. And we can sit in front of each other and talk about that for 50 hours, and you're not going to be talking about the same thing, you know, because there is no way of, like, when you were born in one set of values, and the person is born with another one, with other ones, it's very different to make it match. And you don't have to match. You just have to respect, you know.
Yes.
Everyone can have their own perspective of the world, and it's important when you go there, when you live there, to respect how they think, but also to have like this, you know, this curiosity, this curious look, like interesting. As you said, I see. Interesting that you see the world in this way. Yeah, I have never thought about this from this perspective.
Empathy. I think people often mistake empathy as feeling like the person. Like, people often think that
putting yourself in someone's shoes, right? It's not that all the time.
But that's not empathy. Empathy is feeling with the person. You don't have to agree with the person. You don't have to feel exactly like the person feels. It's being there, feeling with them. And that's completely different.
Yeah, this is a psychologist talking, you see? The psychologist talking in English. Really, really cool, really nice, yeah. But I think also, we can go to that topic, I think, right now, that how our mood and our psychological, you know, part influences in, like, learning another language, right?
A lot,
and how our emotional also like it plays a big role on this process, right, Rob? I think you, as a psychologist, you can see when the person is having a difficulty to learn because of the language itself, because of the codes or the rules and everything, or because of something that is like an emotional block, right?
Yeah, when we are not well in our minds, like in an emotional way, nothing is well.
Yeah.
Right? True. You can be incredibly healthy in your body, you can be lovely at work and all of that, but like, if you're not well mentally, nothing's working. So we see that a lot with students that come to us and believe they have, I'm never able to speak in English. English is so hard for me. And you notice, no, you were able to pronounce all of these sounds. You were saying all of these words. So what's going on? So what's behind this? And then we learn that some students had a traumatic experience with English, or another student has this fear of English. So we start seeing that the emotion plays a big part when you are trying to speak in English. That's why learning confidence is an emotion, right?
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Exactly.
But it's a process. It's a huge process, a long process. But we work little by little together with them. It's very, very influential, the way the person thinks, the way the person feels. Yeah. And we see that a lot with students who come when something is happening in their lives.
We see in their eyes. They arrive in the class, you're like, there's something wrong. What's happening?
The vibe is different.
The vibe is different. What's going on? Yeah.
And how we sometimes have to adjust. Yeah. Right? Like, maybe we prepared an entire class for the student, but then when they come to class, we notice they are exhausted.
They want to talk about something else. They need to talk about something else in order to like be well, and so we can proceed with the process. And we have this mindset of like the most important here is making the student learn in a way that he feels comfortable with, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not there to simply teach what we prepared. We're there to teach with the student.
Exactly.
Sometimes like, oh, maybe they went through a breakup. Oh, maybe with doctors, right? Maybe they went through a very, very tough situation with a patient. And it's like, okay, maybe let's not talk about the stat talk that we prepared. Let's talk about...
Let's hear you. Let's see what you have to bring, what's like concerning you right now. And so you can like vent and maybe we can move further.
Maybe that's what you need right now.
Exactly. And I really love when we talk about that in our meetings, right, Rob, how important it is to be another human being when we are teaching English to another human being. It's not about English itself. It's about connecting with other person, right? It's the much more that we have, exactly. And sometimes it happens a lot that the student comes and they are like having a hard day or they had a difficult situation at the job and they talk about it and we just like laugh, or when it's the end of the class, he just forgot about it. Like, you know what, I'm feeling better right now. And this feels so good for me. It's way, way better than if the person had just learned how to use present perfect in that day. In one class, you just got the concept. You just get the concept, what is really difficult to happen, right? Because sometimes this is what you need, someone to hear you and to make you feel better. Like even though you have to say everything in English, but you know, to hear you and make you like forget a little bit about the outside world.
And you're going to remember, like as a student, you're going to remember much more class where you were heard or where you were able to express yourself in English about a personal topic of your life than let's learn this grammar structure.
Exactly.
It's going to be a lot more impactful for you to be seen.
Exactly. And another thing that you said about being through a traumatic experience in English, I think it happens also quite a lot with our students. And sometimes, like what I always say, we combine, right, the things. So the person makes a relation between the language, like the experience of learning a language, with the traumatic experience. So English becomes traumatic, right? But it's totally different things. There is the language that is totally neutral. I always say, guys, English has done nothing to you. English is neutral. He's just there. He just exists, you know. But like, I hate English, but English is like neutral.
English
but
is not evil.
It's not a problem. English is not a problem. But someone else, maybe like a person who was not prepared to be a teacher, you know. Sometimes we see that a lot in franchising schools. They put someone who is very good at the language, but is very bad at didactics. They don't know how to teach. They don't have patience. They don't have experience. They are super young. And the person like corrects you in a very rude way or makes you feel like ashamed or something, and you just relate that, and you are stopping yourself from learning something that is super important to you because of one situation, right? It makes no sense. Of course, it's very easy to say
from the outside looking in.
Exactly. How we say that is easier said than done, right? But I always invite students that is they are afraid of coming back to English classes, or they feel that nobody's going to treat them well if they are going to learn it. I invite them to make this reflection, like what is really the issue? What is their issue? It was a school, it was a methodology, it was how tired I was at that day, or how stressed the other person was with me. And so you can really separate things and try again, give yourself a chance.
And it's a very good lesson, even if it's with us or with other teachers. No teacher should ever make you feel embarrassed for not knowing something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you're there. You're there to learn.
And if the teacher did that, he's not a good teacher. Just run away.
We would never do that.
No.
And even if it's not with us, if it's with another teacher, they should never do that.
They should never do that, exactly. You should never be embarrassed of asking questions. You should never be embarrassed of committing mistakes. That's the part of the learning process.
You're there.
How can you learn without committing mistakes? Come on. Sometimes the students say, but I commit a lot of mistakes. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. We are here to commit mistakes and learn from them.
It's a very logical process. You only learn how to speak by speaking.
Exactly. And if you don't try, you're never going to commit mistakes. And if you can never commit mistakes, you never learn. right? So that's it. That's it. Well, Rob, I think it's time to wrap up, right? Yes. My goodness.
Time ran by.
Yeah, what a lovely conversation, mate.
Entirely lovely.
Yeah, super lovely. Amei demais, Rob. Infelizmente, nossa rotina é muito corrida, né? A gente tem pouquinho tempo. Daqui vai correr. Nós dois temos aula às 4, agora vai ser 2h30. Nem vamos conseguir tomar um café. Mas queria te agradecer de novo, assim, por esses anos de parceria, né? Você foi realmente um achado, assim. Deixa eu contar rapidinho essa história. Sabe como que eu achei o Rob, gente? Tava numa reunião com a minha contadora. E a mãe dele trabalhava nessa época na minha contadora. E eu assim, gente, eu precisava muito contratar alguém, mas eu queria saber como que eu faço sobre isso, sobre a questão fiscal e tal, como que eu faço pra fazer tudo certinho e tudo mais. E aí elas me explicando. E aí a mãe dele, no meio da reunião, você já conhece alguém? Você já tem alguém pra dar aula? Eu falei, não, peraí que eu tenho alguém. Ela, Júnior! Meu filho fala inglês super bem. Estudou a vida inteira em escola americana, ele fala inglês britânico, chama ele. Fala aqui com ela, fala aqui. Aí o Rob, aquela coisa que a mãe chama a gente, você fica tipo assim, oi, mãe. Tipo assim, no olhar, quero te matar, mãe, porque daí você, ai. E aí a gente conversou um pouquinho ali durante a reunião. Em inglês, e eu achei o inglês dele maravilhoso, e aí depois a gente começou a conversar. Então, por mais que na hora você não gostou, tá? Agradeço a sua mãe, porque ela salvou.
Eu sou muito feliz.
Muito feliz esse nosso encontro.
Nossa, é difícil acreditar, de falar em 4 anos.
Nossa, exatamente. Em 2022, né? Passou. Assim, ao mesmo tempo que passou muito rápido, muita coisa aconteceu. Parece que faz uns 20 anos também, em 4.
Assim. Em um ano a gente aconteceu coisa que
não acontecia há muito tempo.
Em
2, 3 anos não aconteciam, né? Exato. Mas te agradecer, então, por todo esse carinho que você tem comigo, com os outros teachers, com os outros alunos, assim, é maravilhoso ter você no nosso time. E eu tenho certeza, o Rob tem sotaque britânico, que é muito pra Inglaterra. Tenho certeza que um dia ele vai pro Tiffany, vai pra uma universidade lá, Oxford, Cambridge, e a gente vai ter orgulho de falar.
Contato.
Não vai perder o contato, mas eu vou ter orgulho de falar, o nosso teacher está em Cambridge, right now, em Oxford, right? Então, obrigada por ser esse teacher maravilhoso. E essa pessoa maravilhosa também.
É um prazer pra mim estar aqui hoje. Sabe que eu sou péssimo em questões de redes sociais, então isso aqui é um desafio que eu tô fazendo, porque eu gosto muito de vocês. Né? Então,
que legal, obrigada. Fico muito feliz pelo esforço, não só por isso, mas por outros também, né? Eu lembro que quando a gente começou a trabalhar, eu falei, Rob, me passa o Instagram dele então. Eu tenho uma foto só, que eu postei em 2017.
Eu não posto nada, eu não uso redes sociais, né? Então, qualquer interação, assim, mais digital, eu sou uma meio velha, né?
Então, culta, ele é um senhor inglês, assim, um gentleman, exatamente.
Então, pra mim foi um grande desafio estar aqui, mas estou muito feliz de estar vendo, porque eu não abriria mão dessa oportunidade.
Ai, né? que bom, Rob. Você é feliz demais. E é isso, pessoal. Acho que esse é o nosso podcast. Quer dar um recado final aí, Rob, pro pessoal, pros alunos que te conhece só falando sobre grammar ou British English, né?
Faça o dever de casa, faça o homework.
O recado é sempre o mesmo.
Esse é o recado, porque
é muito importante.
A gente conversou bastante aqui hoje sobre isso, sobre essa ideia de que aprender inglês não é só na sala de aula.
Sim.
A gente tá ali, tipo, em uma hora e pouco, não é suficiente pra você aprender toda a língua.
Exatamente.
Então, todo dia, fazer os exercícios que a gente manda lá, fazer o homework. Incrivelmente importante. É parte essencial do nosso processo.
Super importante.
E se não fizer, vai ter que fazer na aula.
Na aula, então, exatamente. Então,
já ficou aviso.
Já ficou aviso. Perde tempo de aula fazendo tarefa, né? E também faça as atividades do Study Plan, que o Rob está lá todos os dias mandando.
Assistam os vídeos, leiam os textos, vocês vão ver. E batata, assim, né?
Matemático.
Você vai ver o resultado. Então, assim,
eu falo que é matemático o processo, né? Não tem como não dar certo se não fizer todo dia. E mais uma coisa curiosa sobre o Rob, que você é tão assim, religiosamente certinho com o study plan, que o Rob manda todos os dias as atividades há 4 anos, né? Teve um dia que você não mandou, e aí a Lari, eu nem me preocupo, mas nem olho mais, porque eu sei que o Rob manda todo dia. E aí uma aluna nossa que fazia todo dia falou assim, o Rob tá bem? Eu falei, eu acho que tá, por quê? Porque ele não mandou atividade hoje. Aí eu fui, você tava doente. E realmente não tinha acontecido, né? Então, assim, obrigada por esse teu compromisso também, né? Tudo que a gente passa pra você, a gente sabe que vai ser feito de maneira muito excelente, assim. Então, é um orgulho ter você no nosso time. Eu acho que é isso, né? Obrigada por estar aqui comigo.
Obrigado.
E obrigada a todo mundo que assistiu aí esse nosso segundo episódio do podcast, onde eu viajo o Brasil entrevistando alunos e professores agora, né? E falando um pouquinho, né, do porquê que a gente ensina inglês e muito mais. That's it. Finish.